The Dow Jones closed Friday up 382 points, over 35,000, which is an amazing number, of course. And the S&P 500 closed up, and the NASDAQ had its best week in 7 weeks. And Danny, we're just 3% from record highs on the NASDAQ. Certainly something to pay attention to. And of course, you're going to ask why all of this good news, and it's because of the earnings reports are now coming out that we've often talked about.
We were getting a little roughed up the last couple of weeks. In fact, even earlier in the week, and then all of a sudden it was like, pow, and it was because of those earnings reports. The first set that reports is the financials. That helped.
Yeah, they did. And the banks came out, and they were strong. J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, and the like. And it was what we expected, a strong earnings report. And we're going to continue to watch interest rates, and I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But earnings reports are expected to be up over 30% on earnings growth, and it's all about guidance. The earnings reports talk about what happened in the past quarter. We're really interested in the guidance going forward. Last quarter, Danny, in the second quarter, nearly half of all companies talked about inflation, and that's likely higher today than it is a quarter ago. So earnings reports will talk about guidance and inflation and input costs, which are things like energy and transportation costs and labor shortages.
On those analyst calls, can things get rough sometimes? Do they usually ask some pretty pointed questions?
They do, and sometimes it's funny. It's a good exchange. Generally the analysts want to be in good on the other end of those answering those questions because they have to have relationships with them. But we've heard some knockdown fights in earnings calls before. So earnings reports are good. The market is reacting to that, as well as some other information that we got this week, namely inflation up a whopping 5.3%. And, we haven't really talked about inflation in decades. In fact, almost in 20 years that we've been doing this, inflation hasn't been an issue. Here it is, over 5.3%. And the disconnect, of course, is the 10-year Treasury bill is only at 1.6%. So something's going to break. Either inflation's going to come back down or the 10-year Treasury is in a bad spot.
We've been talking about this for a while, but I will tell you this. Now, just the rank and file, the normal person is noticing everything costs more.
That's exactly right. And now it's in mainstream media. It's just not on these financial shows. Mainstream media is talking about inflation because it affects everyone. You go to the grocery store, and you and I talked about this before, no matter what the product, prices are going up. Energy prices are going up, oil up over $80 a barrel.
You're talking about mainstream. It seems the major concern now is the fact that we're not going to get toys for Christmas, but it's a whole lot bigger than that.
Yeah, for sure. And think about, we've been talking about for months and months that obviously the auto industry was the first to get a lot of attention because we couldn't get semiconductor chips to finish those automobiles. And now it is an issue. There is the port issue that is just locked up right now. Tons of ships on the West Coast can't be unloaded and distribute that. And even if they get unloaded, it's tough to move stuff around.
There are no truck drivers. Yeah, I think the president this week asked for them to go 24/7. I think Walmart jumped in, UPS was going to go, FedEx was going to go 24/7. But again, if you can't staff it, it's going to take forever to untangle.
Yeah, that's right. And so inflation that's over 4%, it generally has an impact on price to earnings ratio. I guess you know me, I'm always trying to find the silver lining. One good news is that the Social Security COLA adjustment will be as much as 5%, and food stamp compensation up over 25%. That's possibly a benefit to those, but higher energy costs, those to fill up your vehicle, to heat your home, especially here in Wisconsin, are going to be higher. And as you mentioned, Danny, as we get into Christmas season, will some of these shelves be empty because the products won't be distributed?